Hi there, YouTube friends. Nikki and I are in the kitchen again, bringing you another recipe, turkey recipe. We're trying a new one. It's called Chicken Rotel, and it comes from one of my good friends' cookbooks, and we're gonna give it a try. And we'd like to invite you to come in the kitchen with us and watch as we put together a new recipe and maybe even taste test it.
The turkey rotel, 2 turkey,
Okay.
celery, onion,
Okay.
vermicelli,
So vermicelli is actually just basically your angel hair pasta. So that's what we're using today.
Velveeta,
Got it?
oleo,
That's butter. How much does it say?
1 steak,
Okay.
large bell peppers, chopped,
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
can of peas,
Peas. Frozen would be better, but I have canned. It says canned, so that's what we're using.
1 can of mushrooms or mushroom soup,
Oh, just one? Okay, so mushroom soup. I must have gotten these mixed up. Okay.
1 can of Rotel,
Okay.
Worcestershire, and onions chopped.
All right. So, everything's just about ready, and we're gonna go ahead and next prep anything that needs sliced, diced, cut. What calls for a half an onion. Two-thirds will be 1 1/3 cup, so it only has to be half full. But we're going to use all these up because we just need to get these out of the freezer. That way we could. And it's time for the vermicelli, or angel hair pasta. I think it's the same thing. Those of you who really know, correct me in the comments. Whoa, let it get a little hot. Maybe you shouldn't let it boil that hard. It'll be okay. This is nice and cooked. I'm gonna drain it. And I'm just gonna set it aside for a minute. But first, I think I wanna make sure it's gonna quit cooking. So I'm gonna take cold water and rinse it really well. Wow, this really puffed up to make a lot of pasta. And then I happen to have just a little tiny bit of olive oil left. Actually, there's really nothing coming out, is there? Okay, first thing we have to do is turn on the stove to a medium to moderate heat. So anywhere between a 5 and a 7 will be just fine. And then we're going to put the butter in the pan to start heating up. Yum, 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 homemade butter. And I know people will ask, no, Nikki didn't help me. This is something I made, oh, it might be close to a year old, I'm not sure. And I had it in the freezer. So we're going to get this used up using stuff from the pantry when we can. No shame in using things for convenience too. So once we get this butter nice and melted, we'll start adding the veggies. While Nikki's over there at the stove top, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting the cheese. Ha 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 ha. Yes, I'm using this stuff. I have promised you all that I would show you how to make it homemade. Maybe one of these days I will have time. But right now is a busy time and it just hasn't happened yet. So we're gonna go ahead and use this pre-bought store stuff, and that's okay. The recipe actually calls we're making a double recipe here. So the recipe calls for a full one of these, but I've been making some other recipes and I only have 1.5. So I think we could probably sprinkle some cheddar or other types of cheese on top when we're done with the casserole. Or you know what? This is still a lot of cheese, so I think it'll be okay. I just like to cut them in cubes. They melt just a little bit easier when you do it like that. Look at that golden butter. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. On back to the recipe. So we're gonna add in the veggies now. We have onions that actually had been freeze-dried and rehydrated. We're gonna add those in. They were just a yellow onion. It called for 2 large red bell peppers. I had some in the freezer, so we just kind of guesstimated what that would be. And I believe it was 3 cups of celery. I take that back. I just looked at the recipe. It just said celery, so I chose 3 cups because that is one that I use on a similar recipe. Isn't that beautiful? Look at all those vibrant colors. We're just gonna kind of cook that a little bit. The onions become a little bit more translucent and the green changes color just a little bit. Okay, so now that we have that sauteed, we'll go ahead and we will add in the cheese to get it to melting. That's a whole lot of cheese right there, friends. I think we'll go ahead and add the Rotel, and then we'll give it a stir, and we'll probably be ready for the cream of mushroom soup too. And add that chicken in, or the turkey in too. Now there's big chunks in there, but I think that as we stir it, as the cheese and everything melts, that those pieces will kind of break apart, so I'm not worried about it. And the recipe said to leave a little broth with it, so I did. And when I put it into the pre-measured packages, so that it would stay nice and juicy too. Goodness, guys, I forgot to add the Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce? This stuff. Forgot to add that when we were cooking the veggies. So I better get that in there real quick. We're gonna add some salt. Some pepper, just season to taste. Looks like it's all melted good. We can shut off the heat and add the pasta. Lots and lots of pasta. Look at all that angel hair pasta. Good thing Nikki's strong. Okay, now normally you would do them sooner, but we're adding the peas last because they were canned peas and not frozen, so they're not quite as sturdy. And don't worry guys, if I haven't mentioned it already, I will have the recipe posted down below with just a single batch versus this double batch. Because sometimes when you're cooking, and especially when you have a helper in the kitchen, it's best to just go ahead and do a double batch. So any good cook has to taste her recipe before it's completely finished to make sure we don't have to season it more. So here's a new recipe. Cheers. Dogs might get a taste of that too. Not too bad.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Might be a keeper.
I don't think it needed more of the cheese.
Yeah, that's right, because the recipe did call for more cheese. It doesn't need it. Maybe garlic. That'd be the only thing I'd do different. I love garlic though. Even though it's a double recipe, I know how this stuff works. I can get it to probably fit in 3 of these pans. I'll need to let these cool, but Nikki went ahead and got these ready for us. She put what it was, the date, make sure to thaw it, a reminder, and then how to bake it. So it's ready to go. Thing I'll do is after it's cooled and I've got it the lid on, I'll put it in those big bags. Well, guys, you know me. I'm always changing my mind about things. So I decided that since this, even though we said it was cheesy enough, we thought that it was going to be okay. I decided that I've got this farmhouse cheddar peppercorn, and I just think it would be so good to grate some of that on top here. You know me, I'm always changing my mind. You know what else I think would be good in here? Nikki, olives. You think olives would be good in here? All right, I'll stop. So I'm going to take my non-cheese grater and grate some of this delicious cheese on top here. I need that peppercorn. I'll just give it a little extra flavor. A little extra melty cheese. And kind of distinguish it a little bit more from the other casserole I made. I just couldn't help myself. I had to add the extra cheese. Hey guys, thanks for being in the kitchen with us, trying a fun new recipe that we actually like. I hope that you like it too. If you decide to make it, please let me know. I love to hear those kinds of things.